Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today we're looking at this. It's the Ibanez Artcore Expressionist AM93ME-NT model. Now, if you guys know my channel, you'll know that I'm a fan of Ibanez's Artcore range of hollow body and semi-acoustic guitars. I own the beautiful AS73FM in azure blue gradation, other videos of that guitar elsewhere on my channel. And this is not a new guitar, the AM93, but I first found out about it this year at 42 Gear Street 5. I saw it in the corner of the tent, fell in love with it aesthetically straight away, and the Ibanez folks were kind enough to send me this one afterwards to make a few videos with, and this is the first of those videos. So in this video I'm going to tell you first about the specs and the features of this guitar, then I'm going to play it in as many different musical styles and genres as I possibly can, and then after the playing I'll go into some more detailed opinions that I have about the guitar. I've had it for a few weeks now, I've played it quite intensively in that time, and I do have things to say about it, so stick around for that if you like. There are timestamps to everything down there in the description and the comments too if you want to skip to a certain part of the video, so feel free to go ahead and do that. But first let's talk about this guitar and the specs and the features. So this is a very beautiful guitar. Like I said, it caught me straight away with its classy aesthetic and its elegant looks, and a lot of that is down to the ebony in this guitar. It's got an ebony fingerboard and it's got an ebony body as well. The top, the sides and the back are all macassar ebony, so it's a beautiful looking instrument, but that also means that it's very, very hard to film effectively without the lights being in it at all times. But just look at that grain on the back there. I'll try and do a few close-ups of the body as well, just so you can see how lovely this grain and this guitar actually looks from close up. You've got binding as well that just makes it look really, really old school and classy. I really, really like it. In terms of size, the body of this guitar is smaller than your classic 335, but if you know guitars like a 339, then you're going to be in that kind of a ballpark. On the front of the body here, we have this scratch plate here and a beautiful tortoiseshell finish. We have two humbuckers, gold covered, and these are Ibanez Super 58 pickups. These are moderate output pickups with vintage tones, as per the Ibanez website, so very much not your modern day shredders pickups, but we're going to hear them very soon. We've got a three-way switch here to move between the pickups, volume and tone controls for each of the pickups too. There's no coil splits on this guitar or anything like that. The rest of the hardware here is also a really classy sort of a gold, so some subtle bling here. We've got a Gibraltar Performer bridge and a quick change 3 tailpiece, which Ibanez says is great for giving you faster and easier string changes. One more time, let's just look at the back of that guitar just to marvel in its goodness. And you can also see here, thanks to where my left hand is, how easy upper fret access is with this guitar. But let's move up to the neck then, and as you can see, we've got 22 frets on this guitar. They're medium-sized frets on this beautiful ebony fingerboard, and we've got these lovely classy block inlays as well. The scale length on this guitar is 628 millimeters, which is going to be similar to a 339 or a 335 at 24 3/4 inches. We have a 43 millimeter nut here, and the fingerboard radius is 305 millimeters. That's about 12 inches, which makes it a pretty flat fingerboard for this kind of guitar. The neck itself is a 3-piece nyatoh maple affair, and over on the back here you can see that it has a poly finish, and again we've got binding on the neck here too. Really, really nice aesthetics going on. The profile of the neck to me feels like a medium D shape down at the bottom, moving up to a pretty chunky D shape up near the upper frets. And if I move us up to the headstock there, the classy black and gold and bound aesthetic continues, and we have no name / Ibanez tuners there on the back. This guitar will set you back about $700 or about 750 euros, so it's pretty much a decent middle of the mid-range in terms of prices. Is it worth that money? That's what we're about to find out, because next we're going to play this guitar in as many different musical styles as I possibly can. So my rig for today is going to be my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 amplifier. We'll start on the amp's clean channel, and because these are vintage pickups, we'll play some folky stuff, some country stuff, some blues and some pop as well. Then we'll kick in my favorite overdrive pedal, the Greer Organic Lightspeed Overdrive, to do some indie rock and some classic rock as well. After that, we'll go up to the amp's lead channel and play some harder rock and some punk rock. And after that, we'll go back to the clean channel. I'll kick in my Rev G3 distortion pedal. We'll tune the guitar down to drop D and see if it can do a bit of metal and a bit of modern day chugging. Because why not? You never know. Enough talk then. This is the Ibanez AM93ME-NT. Let's play it now and we'll speak in more detail about it afterwards. Okay then, so that was the Ibanez AM93ME-NT, and I hope you enjoyed the playing and the tones. Now this was a guitar that I was very, very excited to try once I discovered it at 42 Gear Street this year, because I'm a huge fan of the Ibanez Artcore guitars, and I think they're a criminally underrated line of instruments. You know, Ibanez are rightly famous for their super strats, their prestiges and guitars like that are played by hard rock and metal players everywhere. They are wonderful guitars, but the Artcore line and this Artcore Expressionist guitar, well, they do fly under the radar a lot. I personally love my AS73FM. It's one of my favorite instruments and I always find myself coming back to it again and again, but this one as well has a lot of promise. And the first impressions that I had of this guitar when I saw it at 42 Gear Street really got me excited. I mean, just look at it. It is a beautiful looking instrument. It looks very classy, and again, it's impossible to showcase this guitar in all its beauty for the camera, at least with my ability with lighting, because the lights just reflect off it in all the environments. However, it does look fantastic. You'll have to take my word for it. And combine this beautiful ebony grain with the subtle yet slightly blingy gold hardware, the binding and these beautiful block inlays, and you have what is a wonderful looking and a wonderfully classy looking instrument too. So it caught my eye straight away in terms of looks. And when I found out that it also had Ibanez's Super 58 pickups, I was really excited to try it, because I've never really played a guitar with these pickups before, and they offer vintage humbucking output, so it should be a really different tonal experience to all of the other Ibanez guitars that I've played. Now, when I picked this guitar up for the first time, I was struck by the weight of it. You kind of expect semi-acoustic guitars to be really, really light. This one is not. It's a decent weight. It's 3.4 kilograms, which is about 7 pounds 8. So a decent weight, and it balances really well too, whether you're playing it sat down or using a guitar strap and stood up to perform. Now, when it comes to build quality and hardware on this guitar, it's the usual case of the immaculate Ibanez. The frets on this guitar have been done really well. They're medium in size, really nice rounded ends. Everything's really nice and smooth. Now, the action on this guitar came a little bit higher than I would personally prefer, but that's a taste thing, and it's really easy to bring that down if you would like it. In terms of the rest of the hardware, we've got a lot of Ibanez stuff here, the Super 58 pickups, and everything else like the tuners is Ibanez, but everything does its job perfectly. The guitar stays in tune really well, and that means that the nut has been cut decently too. The hardware, the knobs, the pots, the switch, everything works without any problems whatsoever. So again, Ibanez build quality is always top notch, at least in my experience. When it comes to the playability of the guitar, now this is a semi-hollow guitar and it is bigger than some of your smaller solid body guitars like a Telecaster, so that's something you might have to think about if it could be an issue for you. However, this is comfortably smaller than a 335 style guitar, and I find it a very comfortable body to play. Now, it's got really nice upper fret access if that's something you're going to need. Not really a problem for me. Everything else nice and easy to reach. We've got the 628mm scale length here, and it all feels really, really good. So in terms of playability, top notch. Again, there is a taste thing for me that takes it down a tiny notch in terms of playability, and that's the fact that we have a poly finish on the back of the neck. I just find that that has a tendency to get a bit stickier than a satin neck would, and I would prefer a satin neck version if I could get one. But apart from that, top notch in terms of playability. And the other thing that we have to talk about is the sounds of this guitar. You've heard those Super 58 pickups in action now. Tell me what you think in the comments. But for me, these Super 58s are a little bit of a quiet revelation. Now, Ibanez guitars you'd normally associate with high output, hard rocking pickups. That is not what these are. However, they're incredibly versatile, and they do rock with the best of them too, at least in the way that I seem to use them. These pickups, I've never played them for more than 5 minutes before, and they're really, really decent, I have to say that. Now, if you're someone who loves to play jazzy sorts of music, if you like really mellow neck pickup sort of tones, then you're going to be really at home with these pickups. It's perfect for that. On the clean channel, I found that yes, this guitar does have a much lower output than I would be used to with Ibanez's, but it's great for clean tones too, and it did great sparkling country tones, it did great folky tones, it did some nice clean indie tones as well. I really, really like these pickups for clean tones. And by the way, if you'd like to see someone who's a true master of playing this kind of music that possibly this guitar was more intended for, I would direct you to the video by my friend and colleague Kranar Chilku. He's done a video about this specific guitar, and of course he makes it sound fantastic as ever. So head over and watch Quenard's video when you've finished with my one. Now, when we kicked in the Griot Lightspeed and we went up into crunch territory, we got some fantastic indie and classic rock tones, really fat and thick and just really, really decent sounding. There's something about lower output pickups with gain that just works for me. They sound massive. You get a great level of clarity too. You hear every note in a chord, and they just worked for me for that. For indie and classic rock, this is actually a fantastic instrument. Really, really nice. And as we edged up the gain further still and went to the lead channel of the amp, it worked really well for punk rock too. Now, I think you really would want to dime amps and dime pedals to get the most in terms of saturation from these pickups, but it works well for that. And again, if you want the clarity for stuff like punk rock, for palm muting and those sorts of things, then you're going to get it with the AM93ME. So consider it. You're probably not thinking about this guitar if you're looking for a guitar to play music like that, but you could give one a try if you see one in your local store. And you know what? If you're a metal guy too, give this guitar a try if you get the chance, because when I turned on the Rev G3 and went down to drop D, it was another revelation. These Super 58 pickups, they work for metal and they have an amazing clarity and tonality to them, which is just different to every other pickup that I have here and have played in other guitars. They just work really well for metal. They have that great clarity again. They have a really nice aggressive top end for metal too. You hear every note in the chords as you did throughout the playing samples here, and it has a nice fat bottom end too, but it's not muddy in any way. So it's a really crisp and great humbucker for playing metal. If you're playing really, really saturated modern stuff, it's possibly not going to be perfect for you, but give it a try. But for me overall, this is a fantastic sounding instrument. It's got amazing versatility, and these Super 58 pickups are really, really a little bit of an underrated wonder. So give them a try if you get the chance. However, if you've been watching this video and you're kind of into the idea of a guitar like this, but you're wondering what else is out there in terms of similar prices and similar options, well, there's quite a lot. And what I would recommend you look at first are the other guitars in Ibanez's Artcore range. They make a number of different models with different pickups, different body sizes, and every single one that I've played to date has been fantastic. And they're normally always overlooked for Epiphones or Gibsons or something like that, which is not always fair. So try out Ibanez Artcore guitars if you can. I personally have the AS73FM, which is a much larger body style. I've got a video on that elsewhere that you can watch too, and I will be doing a direct comparison and a shootout between this guitar and my AS73FM shortly, so sub to the channel if you haven't already and you'd like to watch that one. But that is a fantastic guitar. That cost me about 450 euros back in the day, so almost half the price of this one, and it's a very, very decent and also different instrument. Now, in terms of other guitars, if you want something in this sort of a vibe, well, of course, you're going to have to look at something like an Epiphone 335 or a 339. In 2023 prices, they're probably similar price to this. I think at time of filming, you'll pay about 700 euros for a new Epiphone 335. They're great instruments, very, very versatile, so give one a try as well, but definitely good competition for this specific guitar. Now, Gibsons, of course, are going to be much more expensive, but if budget is not a thing for you, then consider looking at the Gibson versions too. And if budget is your thing, you could go much, much cheaper and try something like the Harley Benton HB35 Plus. That is a 335 sized guitar, very, very versatile too, plays and sounds absolutely fantastic. I have a video on the HB35 Plus there, and it's well worth a look if you've got less money than this guitar costs. Otherwise, you could widen your taste net a little bit and look for something like a PRS SE hollow body, or something from Gretsch or Dan Electro, or even D'Angelico, something like that. There are very many sort of quirky, semi-hollow electric acoustic guitars out there on the market for this sort of a price range. So head down to your local store, try some out, and you never know, you might find your next instrument in the ones that you try. Overall then, I'm a huge fan of the Ibanez AM93ME-NT, apart from its name. It's a very, very decent instrument, and I was very happy that I found it almost by chance earlier this year. For $700 or 750 euros, I think you're getting excellent value for money. You get the great Ibanez setup and quality, you get these awesome Super 58 Ibanez pickups, you get the ebony body, the front, the back and the sides, and you get this beautiful ebony fingerboard too. Get this guitar set up by a tech and it's going to play like $1,000 plus guitar, you can be sure of that. It's super versatile as well, as many semi-acoustic guitars are. Everything from pristine cleans through to classic crunches, through to really heavy rock and even down-tuned metal sounds. I thought that this guitar covered no problem at all. So I think 99% of you players out there are going to find 99% of your tones within this guitar. So it gets a 2 thumbs up rating from me It's a really, really decent instrument. Try one out if you ever get the chance. I hope that this video has answered all of the questions that you might have had about the AM93ME, but if there's anything else you want to know, drop me a line down there in the comments and I shall answer to the best of my ability. And if you're still around, it would really make my day if you wanted to give the video a like, or maybe even sub to my little channel, because that really does help. But that's been it for today's video. I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.